Yes, we are back again for part five of this series. Hey everyone, and welcome again. And yes, this is part four. Sorry about that. I needed to make the change. All right, so welcome to part four of the series. This is rebuilding a Chrome extension that, if we are lucky enough, will be profitable. But it's not about making the money now. About building something that is useful, then you can now build something that's future. So that's what we are trying to do here. So interesting. Let's see what we did prior to this time. As you can see, we have a floating button here. Let me go to another page that shows it properly. Remember this button we've been working on for 2 days now, right? But that is wrong. We've not been working on the button. We've been working on the future, an entire future of an annotation engine that allows us to be able to annotate whatever web page we capture. And so far, so good. We have good progress. We first of all talked about how we can or inject things into our web pages. That's the first thing you need to understand. Injecting things to your web page is extremely easy to do. You don't need to do it in a very crazy way. I can inject anything to any page. I can inject to Amazon differently from what I inject to Google, different from what I inject to YouTube, different from what I inject to Shopify, different from what I inject to Wix.com, different from what I inject to Squarespace. It's literally an endless possibility because we can do that with an extension, with a Chrome, the Chrome MV3 set of toolkits, or let me say framework toolkits now, because it's not a framework that we can use to interact with the browser. Crazy enough, right? I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of things about, oh, we can have AI agents that allows us to be able to do certain crazy things, right? And one of the things they allow you to do as a person is that they can interact with your web page. They can allow you to do certain things. Now, one of those things and the possibility of those things is what we've shown on display here. Right, this is google.com, and I can inject something to google.com and take over the entire page. If I want, I can write to a certain part of this web page. I can write to it like it was there before. Let me show you guys a page I went to today, just for context. I went to this web page called Cerebras, right? And if you look at the top here, you will see this CSU inline. This is not actually part of the web page that was designed by the company. This is me writing and injecting something to this web page. This CSUI inline is something I injected in my code. Let me show you guys where that is so you can have a bit of context to it also. This is plasmoinline.com. You can see the color is background of pink. If I change it to green, let me change it to green so you see from here. So I've changed this to green now. If I go back to the web page, it should literally refresh this and you see it change to green. So what does this imply? It simply means I can inject anything to any web page as I please if I know what I'm targeting specifically. Now it's powerful, but it can also be dangerous to use. So the point is, as a developer that understands and you're trying to build and be a versatile developer, you should know how to do certain things. Not just build applications and web pages, but what exactly are those web pages? How do people do those crazy things you see online? That's what I'm here to teach you. So if you're interested in it and you're interested in part four of the series, even if this is the first part of the series, then let's proceed because we need to build something beautiful. So today we're going back to what we've been building for today's. This is it. So we are working on this aspect. Just a minute, guys. All right, so I'm back. Let's proceed. So first things first, going back to this, let's refresh this page. So we have this pop-up here. You can see there are two things working here. In fact, there are more than two things. I can have different script for different things. Like when I showed you the Cerebrals one, you can see that we don't have that pop-up here. That red pop-up doesn't exist here. And this panel by the right that you see here doesn't also exist. You can see so it's totally for different pages. So I can target a specific domain. The domain in this case means I can target a specific URL, a specific domain of probably Google, Cerebrals, Spotify, Amazon, like I just mentioned. I can target apple.com and look at their latest prices. And so whenever you come to the page and tell you, oh, this is what this page is about, you don't need to bother about it. Those are things I can do for you, literally, like as easy as possible. And that makes a lot of sense, right? So what I'm trying to now do here is we went to Google and say, let's have this sidebar. This sidebar can be for anything. I can decide to make it whatever I want it to be, but that's not our focus for now. And you can see how we can target it. This is built with React natively, and then that means it gives you a lot of flexibilities, a lot of libraries you can use. It works with almost every library that I can think of, maybe 90% of libraries out there. So you have the power to do as much as you can think of. But this is what we are building. We are building an annotation library. An annotation library simply means something you can write with. Let me give you an example. We have something called Excalibur, right? Excalibur is something you can write to. It's like an empty canvas. You can just pick an image and draw an image and write into it like this. Do you understand? This is a canvas. This is an example. But we're not building something like Excalibur. We are building something simple. Excalibur requires me to come to the page, open a new website, go to the URL, write whatever I want to write. But the beauty of it is that it allows me flexibility to create as many dynamic things as possible using different shapes, images, and erasers and tools and arrows and all of those things. But we're not building something that complex. We just need something that probably I'm browsing this and I'm like, oh wow, this is cool. There's Octra annotation library. Okay, you know what? I don't need it for now. I want to come back to this tomorrow. All I need to do is just click on this button that is accessible, meaning I do not need to go to any other website or click on it, take a screenshot without being able to implement it. So this is more like takes a screenshot of this web page for me, right? And why does that happen? Because now it's easy. I take a screenshot from here. I look for what um where's what I'm looking for? Octra annotation. What do? I go to the rectangle and I simply just mark it like this. Automatically, simply means I can do something like this. And what does that give me? It means that I can easily do this and mark it like this. And if I want, I can also add arrows to it and say things like, or probably freehand something if I'm using a tablet and say, oh, this is what I want it to be. You can see. But currently the freehand uses the black color and the arrow also is there. I can add an arrow to it, as you can see, and it points to wherever I'm going to. So it makes a lot of sense. I can annotate it like this and save it. But what we are trying to build is something this easy that gives you that flexibility. Just click a button at any point in time, load whatever you want to do, mark it, save it, give it description so that you can recognize that this is what I want to do. Come back to it after a year, you know what you want to do. It gives you context. It gives you, it's like a memory bank for you. It's like the one that remembers what you cannot remember. But it's very easy to access. You don't need to open a new tab that takes you away and takes away your that distracts you from what you're trying to do. No, everything is there for you. The same page, it stays on the same page you are working with and makes it easy for you, makes life easy for you. Basically, that's what we're trying to create. So initially we started with the extension like this, but this doesn't make sense because that means I need to open an extension window and I can, if I click on the window, I lose the extension window. I have to come back to it. Like I have to come back to it and I have to, you can see it's not even longer active. But that doesn't work for our use case. We want it to always be, it's like an assistant that stays with you, captures everything you are doing, and only when you want it, you can just trigger it and then it works for you. You save it and it gets synced to your mobile app. So we want to have a mobile app for it as well, which we are going to work on and build. This is what we are trying to implement. So what's the next thing we want to do? It's very easy. We've done it this. I've shown you a demo of what we've built so far in the first 3 days, right? From scratch. We did all of this from scratch, but we used AI to like generate most of the code. And this is what we have. Now, currently it's not perfect in the sense that you can see the arrow. I've shown you the arrow works. I've shown you the rectangle, it works. And but the thing is, we don't have the color that actually works with them. You can see even if I change to yellow, for instance, here, if I still draw the rectangle, it's still drawing the green rectangle for me. And beauty of it is I can resize it, but that is not so perfectly done yet. You can see this. I can resize it, and that means it works. Resizing works. I can layer it over one another, and I can drag it. I can move it like this. You can see it's not really a problem. Like it works any how you want to think about it. And I can also annotate this by using freehand to like write on it. But then if I want to write on it, I can do something like this. And you can see, and I can move my drawing, place it on top of here. So it's like a drawing board, but that are easily accessible for you and easy to work with. And then I can have the ellipse to also draw something. But what I'm trying to point out is that the colors do not work, the sizing do not really affect it yet. So that's what we need to pick next and work on. We want to make all the actions down here work. You can see that the toolbar here, the arrow, rectangle, ellipse, and all of this works perfectly for our use case for now. That means we want to make all of this also work for our use case. The save, the undo, the redo. We don't need this close here. I think I removed that before. We already have the close up here. Now that makes a lot more sense, right? So what we need to do is first thing, remove this close here. Then make sure that the colors work for it and the sizing affect whatever we see. So currently, just so far so good, you can see that this is already looking good. It's looking great. In fact, not just good, because now we're able to draw stuff. We can annotate, and also it doesn't shout in the face of the user. Once I'm done, I can just save and export and close it, and then I continue with my browsing. Do you know how beautiful it is to be able to store this and send it to your mobile device and continue from there? So let's say you want to share something with someone, you can just do that, click on it, send it to your mobile. In fact, you don't even need to send it. It automatically syncs with your mobile device. That's what we are trying to build. So we need a sync engine. We discussed that. This is our template for what we are trying to build. We've done one, we've done two, but it's not complete yet. So it's partially complete. Once we can do two, we have a lot of free features. That means we've already covered three as well, but we've not done anything on the sync engine. It's something we can do in a day. So watch out for part 5 of this series. In case you have not subscribed, get subscribed. In case you do not like any of our videos yet, consider liking it. This takes a lot of effort. And then we have like the monthly promo we want to implement, because we want to make this a premium features. We want to have premium features, but to give you a lot of free features. The premium features is just you supporting the app by, oh wow, this is beautiful. Thank you for doing this. We are going to make that happen. But we don't want to get the user to only having to pay to access the beautiful things the app can give. These are certain things you'll be able to do for free, right? But to be able to sustain the app and all, we need to still have the premium feature that will work. It's just a thank you way from users. So basically, we're going to implement all of these, publish it to the App Store, to the Chrome Store, so you can see how this works. And yes, today is part 4. Let's see if we can do that before we get to part 7 of the series. So what I'm going to do is, now that we have this beautiful thing set up, what are we going to do next? I'm going to go back to our code base and then implement the remaining features. One of it is that we want the colors to work. Like I said, the colors do not affect the annotations, and the sizing also does not. So it currently is a default size of 2. I want it to be like 4. 4 makes a lot more sense. It's visible. So I'm going to close this. This is not what we want. Then I'm going to go to our we have Plasma Overlay. Plasma Overlay is where we have, like, it's what we have that overlays this. This overlay we see here, we can see it's a bit transparent. Let me scroll so you can see. You can see the colors at the top here moving. Right, you can see it. You can see. So it's a bit transparent. You can make it more transparent than this, so you know that yes, whatever you are doing, it doesn't take over your space. It only comes as a guide based on the size of the page you are trying to work with, and it just makes sense. So that's what we are trying to do. And the next thing is, I said we want to remove this close. First of all, we don't need that close anymore. So first thing, take that out immediately. So I'm going to go to the annotation ng component. That is where the close button is. This is it. So we do not need this. We're going to do this because we don't need it. So if you do that automatically, it should be gone. Right, I can try it again. It's going to reload the page itself. I'm going to close this, trigger this. Now, the reason why I happened is because it will auto reload or rebuild, repackage the app for development, not for publishing now. And you can see it is gone. So everything works. So now we want to modify this to be a default of 4, not 2. So what we need to go to is we need to look for the sizing, the slider. The sliding has a default of brush size. Brush size is 2. Let's make it 4. With time, we are going to have a state that can store the state of the changes. That means you can have a settings page for this particular extension. And that makes sense. That works. That's exactly what we want, right? So we are going to implement that. All right. So next thing to do, let's go check this update out since we've done it now. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here. You can see here is on 4 by default. So that means our update works perfectly well. In fact, more than we expect it to work. That makes sense. So what is the next thing to do automatically now? Or what's like the next thing to do by default? We need to go back here and make sure these colors work. But like I said, I'm not going to write all of these things just to show you guys how I work with AI, because you can't keep writing all of this yourself. I don't want to build it. I have too many things in my head I want to build at once. This has taken 4 days already. Naturally, it should be less if I'm building it myself. Like from start to publishing, it should probably take like from start to packaging it as a proper application should take like a week because it's just an extension. Of course, with the minimal features, not the advanced features. But we can try to do it. So 2 hours we'll be able to do a lot of things. So let's try doing that now. I've already prompted the AI for what to do. I said, if you look at it, say it works now, which is the current thing we have. There's one more thing I want to implement. The colors and sizes do not affect the annotations drawn. Can we make it that the colors and sizes affect the annotations that are drawn? It says you're absolutely right. I noticed that issue too. I don't know how you notice the issue, but it does. So currently the color and stroke sizes changes do not affect the UI. And if you look at my commit changes, you can see the only thing that happened is those changes I just made. So it's not really a big issue like that. Um, so I'll leave the commit for now. It says currently the issue and the stroke size in the UI do not affect existing annotations because two properties are only applied to new annotations. When you change color size, it only affect the next annotation you draw. Existing annotations keep the original properties. Previously drawn animations maintain the original stroke and width. This means if you draw a red arrow, then change to blue, the arrow stays red, but new arrows will be blue. The solution we need to make tools affect all annotations dynamically. This requires real-time property updates, but this is not exactly what it's supposed to do. Let me show you what I want. Currently it's on red, right, for the arrow. If I draw the arrow here, you can see it's on red. If I change to blue and I draw another arrow, it's still red. So that means even what it's trying to say does not really work. So that means there's a problem. You can see here it says the color and the stroke size changes in the UI do not affect the existing annotations. That is not entirely true. So what we need to see, let's look through the solutions it provides, then we can tweak it if it doesn't align. So when color size changes, we draw all animations with new properties. That's not exactly what I want. So well, let's look at the options. Let's look at the options. Property inheritance system. Store property states separately from annotation data. Apply properties during rendering based on whether annotation has explicit property or should inherit current settings. Two-tier system recommended. Explicit properties. Annotation keep the original stroke when set. When not explicit set, use current two properties. Use add UI controls to apply current properties to selected annotations. I recommend option 3 because it gives most control. Updates rendering logic to check for explicit or inherited properties. Apply to selected buttons in toolbar. Apply to all buttons for global changes. Now, I don't want all of this complexity. So I want to be simple, right? I want it such that when I draw, I use an annotation. For example, the arrow, it uses the current property. But when I change any of that property, I want the arrow, the next arrow I draw, to inherit, to use the new property that I just changed to. That means I can have arrows of different colors without having to click, without having to different colors. Okay, let me say I can have arrows of different colors based on the color I choose before drawing the arrow. This is what I want. And this should apply to other annotations as well. Is this clear enough? And can we implement this? So this is the question I want to ask it. Let's see if you can get it done because I believe you should be able to. Well, it's not possible. It's not possible for AI. It's not possible for me to do as well. But then we are not trying to sit with this. We are only trying to guide it. This is the stage we are in software development. So if there is not any of this in your app, please try as much. Learn how to integrate stuff like this into your planning, into your building. To save you a ton of work and headache. But you still need to debug. You need to learn how to debug. Like that is the skill you should have now. Pursue how to debug stuff. Use AI so much that because AI will misbehave so much, you are sure it will misbehave. So learn how to use AI to misbehave so that you can fix the bug. So you can learn by fixing the bug. That's the new way of learning right now. So I'm good at fixing bugs. So it's not really a problem for me. at this point. Whatever crazy thing you do, you can watch any of my videos. Probably when I built a wallet, I literally didn't use AI for up to 10% of what I built. Percent exaggerate it because it was just generating literally rubbish for me, garbage that I didn't need. So I had to like clear it most of the time, rewrite it myself. And it took also a week to build a functional wallet. I think I've shown that on this channel, but for sake of those that was not there, not this one, um, this one. I don't know if it's still active. I think it's down. Yeah, so it can't really load it now. The server is not up, but then it's one of those things I've built. This is another one. This one is a bit complex than that one, but yeah, that's not what we are trying to talk about today. Let's forget that. Yeah, so I'll show you this guys. This other one, like I said, when it's time to let's focus on what we want to do. So I'm going to minimize this again. So you say perfect, yes, that's completely unachievable. You want simple property inheritance. When you change color size, the next annotation you draw use those properties, and the existing annotations keep their original properties. Exactly. This is actually the simplest approach. I'll give you exactly the behavior you want. So it says the plan is to modify annotation engine, the redraw method, which is what is here. Let me show you guys where that is. So we have an annotation engine.ts file. Annotation engine.ts is where we have all the annotation functionality. Just a class that gives us functions, methods, and some constants that we can use. So there are private methods, in this case, private or move, so you can't be called outside directly. So we expose functions that will call it, just like we have in other functions, other programming languages like Rust, like Java, and all of those things. Same thing applies here. So if you're not familiar with classes in TypeScript, you should really try it out. In JavaScript, rather, you should really try it out. It's quite cool. It teaches you a lot about how these functions, classes, and OOP work in other languages that actually enforces OP like Java and C#. It makes sense too. So let's go to this draw. So this is the redraw we talk about. So the redraw here is just you clearing the canvas first, because when you want to draw, you want to clear the canvas for the next redraw. Canvas stuff is a field on its own that you want to really learn, but don't bother yourself about that for now. Just use AI to get it done. Like I said, learn to debug. It will help you. So the next thing is draw the background image if available. We have that done already. We have the annotation of properties. So it's basically saying we remove the property application that was trying to apply current to properties to all annotations, go back to rendering each annotation with its original stored properties, which was exactly what I did initially. But for some reason, AI removed everything. I'm going to show you guys what he did because I've already committed it. But I perfectly remember what I did. But he removed the entire thing, changed it to his own, and now I need to go back. But it's fine. It's fine. It's just to get it to see if it works. So go back to rendering each annotation with its original store properties. This ensures existing annotation never change their appearance. Keep current two properties for new annotations only, which is this guy. Then in the up method, only apply the current two properties to the new annotations. This is the on up method, this one. As you can see here, it applies current two to new annotation. So what we can just do here, on the on up method, I didn't really change much. I added this background color to it. That was the only thing I did, just for debugging purposes. So what we can do in this case is like remove this guy, remove the if statement, and then redraw. Okay, no, you know what? I don't think I need all of this. Let me try this. I want to try something before it continues because I need to be sure it doesn't work. So I'm going to close this, retry this, and then check this guy out. So we have it doesn't work now because I've removed that. You can see the property doesn't work anymore. So that's perfectly understandable. See, this is where the properties are being applied to it. As you can see, it uses the a.stroke property or the tools property. The tools property is what is defined here to define the tooling that we want to use. This is the stroke, the width. The width is fixed at this point, as you can see. It should not be fixed. It should be using the size that is coming from the width. So that means we should be passing the width to the annotation engine that we are using in the component. If you understand what I'm saying, this should be literally straightforward in this case. But like I said, let AI do this thing. Let's just allow it do its thing and see what we get from it. It should be literally just easy for you to get this, get the brush size, which is here, and pass the brush size into this. So the brush size in this case is the annotation engine we are using here, which is when we slide it. You should be using it, but where is it using the brush size? Let's check. Is it using it for anything? Yes. Update the tools property with the stroke width or brush size, but it's not reflecting when we check it. This is the default one, right? So where do we use it? We use it in the cells two properties, which is what is being used. So that means it basically sets the two properties, as you can see here, sets the brush stroke width to the brush size, which makes sense. So why is it not working? It's supposed to work this way. Then we have the set two properties here. And then from the set two properties that we have here, we can see we get two properties from here. Let's see. I have a toolbar.tsx here. And that uses both of them, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, that works. I'm not complaining. So that means we get that already. So the two properties is defined. So on the on up and the on down, so the on up property should use the, where is it? This is it. So if the selection dot annotation, selection this, annotation this, original this annotation, blah blah blah. Get the tools that is active on point up, get the point, apply the current two properties, which is the stroke width should be a dot stroke width before this. So this is fine. So why is it not working? You know what? Let's leave that. We just see what's to happen. They say one, we already know what one is. Two, keep the current two properties for new annotations only. A single annotation should maintain the original stroke color with etc. So simple management, state management, no complex inheritance system needed, no UI controls for existing annotation, exactly. Just natural behavior. What you draw stays as what you draw. This I'm not complaining that this is not important. We need that, but we don't want to jump ahead too much when we implement this kind of things. Especially when you work with AI, it's easy to hallucinate. An hallucination can cost you hours of code. I did that yesterday and it cost me like almost 6 hours. I know what I'm saying. So please, and please always be sure, have a clear path and walk to it little by little with AI. So that's it. So what we are going to do next is, let's tell it to just, I'm looking at this code, simply redraw. It said simplify the redraw method, just clear the canvas, which was what I was trying to implement here. If I go to the redraw, you can see we are removing all of these implementations now. So you basically say add the drawing image. This is what I was saying. This wasn't there before. All of this wasn't there before. It rarely added it when I didn't want it to add it. Like it was never there before. I didn't even add this before. And then the render annotations was not even this before. The render annotations was just basically, I think I have that here. Let me copy from some. I had the render annotations somewhere and it was doing something else, literally something else. Let me go to render annotation. Render annotations was taking the annotation, yeah, it was taking the annotation that I wanted to modify and it was using that. But for some reason, this guy intended and decided to remove the entire thing just like that, which is annoying. So as you can see, it's going back to these other annotations exactly. This is what it was supposed to be before. So it literally changed the code for me, and now it's changing it back to what I had before. Very annoying stuff. But yeah, that is it. So this is what we are going to do. I'm going to go here. I'm going to click on this just to check it out and see what we have next. So these are basically what's going to happen. So if I before I tell AI to do any of these things, but I'm just going to say, okay, this is 4 pixels. Let's try the rectangle. I want that to is quite obvious. So if I do rectangle, let's say I change to like this cyan and I click on this, it's still using the green. So it doesn't really change anything. So I'm just going to leave this. I won't tell AI to change anything yet. Nope. Just let it do its thing and use that for me since it's literally the same thing. We seem to change the on up method. The on up method is where it kind of like picks the tool that it's going to use. You can see with properties here, then push it with this, right? So it still does that here. So we don't need to do that also. We will remove that. So it says update the on up property. Same here, same here. This is where the logic will change. So we have the stroke property, the width, and all of those things should only use the tools, the property, should not use what is coming from here. So only calling property apply to new annotation. So that means we need to remove this. Anything we have that looks like this, we need to remove it, and then we need to do this. Basically this multi-remove, and that is it. So if you redraw this, you can see that's all we need to do. So rather than telling you how to do it, we can also just modify it ourselves. Like I said, this is exactly what I did initially. Well, I didn't do that with the markup. This is the part I didn't implement that on. Let me confirm that. I think I did that. If I go to the chat, I know I did some on up. Okay, I didn't have that. It's just the selection that was there. So he added those to it, which was normal. But if you look at the redraw function I had, it was extremely simple. The redraw function I had was a bit simpler than this. He added something that I didn't need. It only added this one doesn't have the redraw function, but it's similar to this. You can see this loop here just takes the annotation and passes it. But I have a function that handles that, which is render annotation function that does similar thing. That uses the for each. This is an actual loop, same thing. But AI decided to change it. So crazy stuff, like I said, but it's all good. So straightforward solution. What we need to do here is this. So render annotation this. Let's try it out. Let's try it out just to be sure. and see what we have. So let's try the rectangle again. I have, wow, this is awful. Why is it? Okay, so the red works now. As you can see, the red works, but you can see it just shows the red. It doesn't show the background like we had before. The feel is no longer there, and all of those things, which it's not exactly what I want. But let's see the sign. Does it work? Yeah, so it works now, but not exactly, not perfectly, right? I'm going to change this to this dot annotations. So let's see what we have. So that means yes, this works now, right? AI misbehaved and spoiled the entire thing. Now it's also telling me to go back to what I had before. It's always good to test your logic and to be sure of your logic. All right, so like I said, we have this. So I'm going to use the white here to see, oh, this for the arrow. Let's test the arrow. So let's use yellow. Okay, it works. Let's test pink. Oh, that's nice. Let's test the rectangle with we currently on what color? I think the red color. Yeah, so we can move all of this, right? We know that that is possible currently. So we're on the pink. I can change this to yellow, draw another one inside of it, move this on top, move this on top, draw another thing. It's cool, but it doesn't give me the feel anymore, which I miss. I really miss the feel because that feel gives it a feel, right? That makes sense. All right, so let's just continue with this. I know that was terrible, but then you get the point. So it doesn't give me that anymore. The feel, which I still need. I still need the feel, right? So I'm going to go back and implement or add the feel. All right, so let's do that. Let's see, where did the feel get removed from? So here did that the feel. Let's see. Let's go back to. Let's undo this. Where was the feel coming from? The feel was coming from a dot feel, and a dot feel had like a transparent stuff. Okay, I think I know how that's going to work. No problem. I know what to do. So because we are using the feel currently, right, and that simply means that it's transparent. So what we need to do is when we go back to where we were, the component then that was adding the stroke with, we saw that that worked, but it's only the stroke with that was added. So the stroke is also the selected color, but we want to make sure that it's not just the selected color, the fill color too is used. And the fill color in this case is just like a transparent version. Let me say, yeah, don't call it transparent version. It's like an opaque, yeah, it's the opaque version of that. So what I'm going to do is add the fill here. So instead of this, I'm going to say the fill, it's not transparent, it's actually the selected color plus I'm going to add an opaque color, make it 5 5. It's basically simple because we're using an X value, right? We're just adding the alpha value to it, and that's it. It should work. Let's try it out just to be sure. So these things are not complex, it's just logic based, and it takes a while to think of logic for humans. That's why we tend to like want to always use AI sometimes to do all of these things. So going to the rectangle and trying this, you can see it works because I added the opaque value. So I'm going to make it more opaque than this. I'll add 4 4. 4 4 makes it to be more opaque than the yellow I have here currently. So it's going to be render. I'm going to try it again. So I want it to be like, I think I make it 2 2 because 2 2 might make more sense to me. Let's see. So this rectangle should be like the default. I think I prefer that. People who actually want to use rectangle here again, you can scroll add to this. Now you can see what we are trying to build here, right? And you can see the value. You can max this. We can mean this. And you can see where we have certain stuffs by the left and the right. Like we have to have like context menus for all of them implemented. So that when we click on it, we can delete it. We are going to add key functionalities, keyboard functionalities, click on handlers and all of those things. But let's get the basic thing working. So which you can see is cool now. So if I check this, it's still a bit, to me, it's a bit too bright, right? So we want to make it 2 2. Like I said, 2 2 is going to be the best color. So I'm going to make it 2 2. So that means we currently already automatically feel the feel. I'm just dropping a lot of the spawns today. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to feel the feel, and then we're going to try using this again. And so let's see what we're trying to do next. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to the black, see what we get from the black rectangle, please. Nice, this makes sense. So if I put it on this, you can see it's transparent but semi-opaque. I can go to the cyan color, try the cyan with the overview, just the overview. Yeah, this looks cool. Try with the yellow on this paragraph, the entire paragraph actually. Okay, so try with the red. Let's use the red on this. Okay, this makes sense. So, but that it doesn't show you the arrow being drawn. So that's because we are using, there are three states of events. When you we have uh, on key down. Let me check it out. I know we are using on key press, on key. No, we're using on key up and on key move and on key. So the reason is because when you click on key up, this that is when this renders. When you have the on key on move here is when you are moving the arrow. It doesn't show you want, but you can see up here. It doesn't show also. The only time it shows is on key down. That is when it displays the stuff you've drawn. If you look at it, you can see that there's a point, there's a loop here that gets the direction, and then there's a display here. So you can see on pointer down here. So this is the tools. On pointer down is here. Let's look for this. No, not this. Okay, let me go to the rectangle to see how it works. You can see it has this dot start equals to P, this dot end equals to P. There is no on. Okay, there's a pointer move also. So which gives you the on pointer starts, on pointer up rather, gives you this. If it's not start and end, return null. So it only fills this. You can see it fills this. It gives you an RGB of this particular green fill. That's why it was showing green initially. I mean that's why the rectangle was showing you green because it was not using the default the selected color. It was in the default, and that's why we had this color initially, and the stroke it was not affecting it. Let's even check if the stroke affects it now. Let's increase the stroke to 8. I don't think it works. Oh, it does. Yes, this is the intention. I'm moving that in the space of just few days with the sizes defined. I can want very small, very tiny, and we can implement the last one to be 10. And if we want to go crazy, we can make this slider like 1 and 20. So we have enough space for more things. It's just the size. It doesn't matter. We can make it 100 to make it extremely thick for when you have free hand and you want to draw stuff like this, as you can see. So everything we are trying to work on works perfectly. The only thing is that when you draw them, when you are working on or with them, they don't really display until you are done. So it doesn't give you like the start. So let me do something here, right? I want to make I want to do something very terrible. So in this point, when I'm drawing it, we see that it doesn't display until on pointer down. On pointer down, no. This is not beyond down. It should be on move. Okay, you know what? Fine. Let's try something. I know what this is supposed to be like, but let me show you guys what I mean. And so when I choose the rectangle, let me say the ellipse. I've not used the ellipse now. So let's use the blue color. You can see we have this. And you can see it doesn't display until I'm done. Same with the arrow, which is this. But I want the free hand. As I'm drawing it, I want it to be working. But it doesn't work until like there's like on key up, on pointer up. So on pointer move is not where it should be or it should be displayed when I'm moving the pointer. Like the position should display, the start position should be displayed. But it doesn't do that. So I'm not going to bother about it for now. Like we can still clean up our code later on. Remember that if you notice still have this on pointer up here that returns this for annotation engine now. You see that we do not use that again. We just use this on up here, which calls the on pointer up, gets the property of the on pointer off, and we just redraw it. That's when we use the up key. I don't know if that makes sense. So what we can do is quite different though, but don't worry, we'll talk about it. So now that we've done this successfully and it is fine, so we've done less than an hour into the first stage of the video, and we have and we have this. Nope, not that. Let me move that away. I don't know if you guys can see that pointer. That's like the grid that allows you to move it. So we have this, the forums. What am I doing? I still did this everything. All right, so like this, you can point it like this, and you can point arrows to it. So if I want to point arrows, I can decide my arrow is like 8. But this doesn't look like an arrow, does it? I feel like it doesn't look like an arrow anymore. When I set touch of being an arrow anymore. Of course, we can't rotate yet. There's no rotation property, but it loses that touch of being an arrow. So that's one of the things we need to fix. That's one of the bugs, as you can see. So before we do any of those things, let's look at what's the next line of action. What's our next thing to do, right? So that is it. So the next main thing to do is getting a bit distracted with the messages. Just pardon me, guys. So the first thing to do here, the next thing to do is, based on what we've done so far, is we've made the colors work, made the width to work. Now let's fix one thing, right? It is fine and all, but we still have some issues with certain things. Like for instance, we've tested the arrows. We see that the arrow work when it is small. The moment we increase the fonts to like 5, when do we lose the arrow? It's still there. The moment we move to 6, do we still have the arrow? Head is a bit this like it runs away at that point. The moment we move to 8, it's completely gone. When we are on 7, it's gone. So it's at 6, between 6 and 7, it disappears. So you don't have the arrow between 6 and 7, automatically gone, which is a problem. We want it to work the way we expect it to work, and it's not doing that currently. That is a problem. So what do we need to do? 2 things I'm going to do before we add any new feature like the save and all of those things. Let's completely fix all of this. And how do we fix that? First thing we need to do is for the rectangle here, which we have the rectangle, the ellipse. Let's see the rectangle. Any issue with the rectangle? I doubt there's an issue. It works perfectly well. I think it's one that works as much as I want it the most. The color, the background, the feel, everything works perfectly. It makes more sense. Then we have the pink. Let me see if I can draw the pink on top. Yeah, so this works fine, perfectly well. It works fine. Then the next thing we have is we have the ellipses. Let's test the ellipses with like white. Let me draw that here. Yeah, that's cool. So it's not a perfect circle. You can actually see draw a perfect circle, but that's the problem. You can't see what you are drawing until you are done, which makes it become a problem. And you can drag and draw up here, but that's what we are trying to say. So the next thing is the freehand. The freehand also works. If I do this, that means you can sign with stuff and put it there, but you can't see it while you are signing. So that works. Then we have the text. The text is displayed like this. So 2 things we want to fix. Number 1, we want to fix the issue of the arrow not being displayed after a certain size. So that means we have to rewrite the way it works currently. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back to this code. Now this code works as I want it to work perfectly well. It's fine. It's cool. No issues. But it's not doing exactly the way I want it to work. So one thing I can do is remove all of this. But I'm just going to comment this out because I know it's going to come in handy for our next implementation, because yeah, we might not need it yet, but we are going to need it for certain settings next. So one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to commit this. Yes, I've made changes to both of them, the annotation engine, the annotation component. The annotation component we changed. What was okay? We added certain things. Yeah, we added the fill and the transparency behind it, and we added one more thing. Like, yeah, I commented the close button. So I'm going to commit this too. I'm going to write a commit message. I'm going to tell AI to draft a commit message. So those 2 things are going to be working. Yeah, the commit message and the commit is fine. So once the commit is fine, I'm going to say, okay, now I have implemented this fix and it works fine. One more thing though, I noticed that when I timed out, I'll just write a commit message and say something like update annotation with selected colors and size gets the okay. One more thing. Okay, I think that's basically what I want to use. Let me commit it this way. So that's it. So this way we can always be keeping track of it using virtual control system, version control system. So I noticed that when I set the size of the arrow annotation to a bigger size, it reduces the the arrow head becomes like a square, and the arrow no longer looks like an arrow. And we resolve this. So this is we asking the question, and this is we expecting the answer from it, right? So let's see if it's going to give us an answer here. Okay, so let's wait, just a few more minutes. It's taking a bit of time. Yeah, the planning shouldn't really take this much time. Oh yeah, so it found it. So say, yeah, the classic ROS scaling issue. The ROS size is currently, so you see that's a common issue, right? Every programming challenge is more like a common issue these days. And the ROS size is currently fixed at 10 pixels regardless of the stroke width. So when you increase the stroke width, oh yeah, I should have checked that. So it should be in the arrow 2. The arrow 2 should have like a size. And you see the width here is like the mean is 1, the max is 10. So I'm going to make it 20, even before we use anything that was defined for us. Oh no, that's not where the size is. But the minimum is this, so I don't want to use this actually. So the schema, this is the schema for define. The reason why this schema exists here is so that if you select different tools, you want to have different toolbars for it. For instance, if I select, let me show you what I mean here. You want to have a feature whereby if I select the arrow, for instance, the settings here should be different from the settings for text. True or false? Actually true. The settings for this should be different from freehand. The settings from this should be different from ellipses. Now, rectangle, ellipses, and arrow might have the same setting, but freehand and text should have different settings. So the reason for schema and why it exists is so that you can make those changes. If you look at arrow and rectangle here, you can see that they have different, almost similar stuff, but you can notice that arrow does not have the fill schema. So we don't need that. But you can notice that rectangle does, and you can see that ellipsis does. And you can see that freehand also do not have the fill because you don't need fill for freehand. But for the text, what do we have? We have the font size instead of the stroke and the fill, or instead of the stroke width, rather. You can see this. So we need to make sure we work with this. Currently, I'm not using this at all, but I need to use that. So I need to tell the AI to use that, but I need to tell it what to do because currently it doesn't know what to do. We all understand the fact that AI is dumb enough not to know how to implement these things, right? It should be smart, but unfortunately, it is not. So that challenge we are facing currently. So what we need to do is, yes, we know that the schema exists, so we can always use the schema to define what should be displayed on the tool by itself. So that is it. So in this case, let's go back to the arrow 2, which here is defined as 10. So I need to change this 10 to be dynamic. Right? So you say the solution, we need to make the arrow property proportional to the stroke width, which proportional scaling should be this. And you can see here we have a fill style. Let me show you guys the fill style if I can really remember where it is now. Where's the fill style? Okay, let me look for the head length. The head length is max, which should be something like, where do I have the head length number? The editor core, no, we are not using the core anymore. The core is not used. All right, let me go back to the arrow 2. Maybe that's something we need to add to it. I'm not sure we have that here because you're not using it. But it says the solution is professional scaling dynamic. Recommended this code change needed. Okay, let's see. In the draw function, the draw method, because it's in a class, we have the draw, we have the canvas. It says change this. So we need to add this to before begin path to say this to code. So we need to copy this and change it to style and change it to this. And so we do not have this, and the angle stays the same and the size stays the same. Okay, just speaking gibberish right now. So we need to also do this, right? We need to change this. So you can see the angle remains the same. So we do not need the angle. It's just pointing us to what we need to have. So proportional arrowhead comes before the angle. Instead of 10, like we have, length is going to be what we now use for the size. It's going to be proportional arrowhead. Let me be sure of that. Yeah, head length. So it's going to be head length. So we have the close part and everything. So this will give you thin arrows, thick arrows, consistent behavior. So you see, we don't really need to tell it to do it, we are sure. So I'll just put a comment here and say no longer needed. Now using head length for dynamic scaling. I'm going to comment the entire thing out. This is useful because you might need it for other things later on. This might not be now, but it always works to have like comments in your code that will be used for certain things eventually. So that's the essence. So in this case, I have this cyan color. Let's go to the rectangle again and define this. You can see how responsive it is. It doesn't really lag for any reason, which makes sense. Next thing is we want to check is the arrow, right? Set the size to the max, which is 10, and do this. You can see it works, even though it looks it looks awful, but it still works. I think the small arrow too looks the same. It's you can see just clicking it gives you the self. That's something I need to check. So it says the stroke width 2 multiplied by 3. Let's make it 3. See what we have. This calculation in this at this point, just dynamism and calculations. So the head length is just where should they are trying to find, and what's happening? It's not loading my extension. Why? Okay, so let's see. Let's observe it. So it's like 4. Let's observe 6. Let's observe 8. Let's observe 10. Yeah, it still has the same issue, but it's negligible, perfectly negligible. Let's see if there was something I missed from what AI give me here. End to end, y, a to end of this times 3. How about make it instead of times 3? Because the stroke width divided by 2. I'm taking of the length, right? The length should be, is checking between the marks of 10 and the stroke width divided by 2. But that's not the positioning, right? The positioning should be, it should not be coming from there actually. So let's say this is 3. If I let me make it 1.5, I want to be sure it works as it should, because currently it's fine. But I know that's just for the size of the arrowhead, not the direction it is, or not the position it is on the arrow itself. So I'm going to click on this and close this. So I'm going to draw the arrow again. This is 4. I'm going to go straight to 8. Yeah, so that worsens it. So we can make this 3 or we can make it 4. So if you check, oh, it's gone. So let's make it 4. That's not where we need to change. Where we need to change is this. We need to change the head length here. So we know that the end of it is going to be the x. For the x-axis is where we are concerned about, not the y, because it's whatever. Okay, x or y actually is where we are concerned with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add like a bit of plus. Excuse me, please. Just hold on. I'm trying to fill the calculation in my head to see if it's going to work. It's between these two things, plus or negative. We just keep tweaking it until we get the real one. I'm not entirely now. But I know it's supposed to move to the end. Okay, it's actually the end you're working with. So you should move to the end. So the end plus y should be head length times the value, then a bit of negative. Let's reduce this to 5. Let's see what we get. I'm just speculating. I don't know which one is perfectly going to work yet. So if I close this, refresh is done. If I click this, yeah. So it's coming like this. And you can see it still maintains the highlights that I did in the actual text. So that's a cool thing to see. Now you can see it comes. Let me not be too happy yet. Let's try this. Okay, yes, so it comes a bit forward, but it's not perfect. Like I said, it's not perfect yet. So what we can do is let me compare it with a bigger, not different number. Let's say 2. If I make it 2, what happens? Does it come closer? Does it go backward? Does it spoil the entire shape? What happens at the end of the day? So that is what we can compare and we can find out. Okay, let me go back to nope, not you. Where was I just now? Okay, this. So let's go back to this. Let's make it 6. Oh, wow. Okay. So we already see that that doesn't work because it is shifted out of the scope. So 2 doesn't work for us. Let's use 8. 8 might probably be a good number. You can see now that the shape is just working with the shape that we have. Okay, so like I said, we are going to tweak it until we have a very good default that we have. This is not something we should bother about much, but it's also good to bother about it. Now it works. 6 shows 8 or 9. Okay, doesn't work as I expected. I'm going to do this. The max, the end dot x or the end dot y. So for the arrowhead, the angle minus pi. The angle minus pi is the way it defines the arrow head itself because it's just a shape actually. It just defines that. And okay, one more thing. We'll come back to this. Let's not dwell on this much, right? We know it's an arrow, even though it's not a perfect arrow because it looks deformed, but that's perfectly fine. So we know we've fixed the dynamic arrow. The next thing I want us to fix is the fact that when you draw your shape, as you are drawing it, you should be seeing it, not when you are done. Like if I'm drawing the arrow, I should be seeing it as I'm switching, not when I'm done. And you can see that there's a lot of missing stuff here that doesn't work for us. So this is going to be 6 again. And so I'm going to leave this as 4. Okay, so once we do this, we can check this. The close, click on this. Do we have our arrow? Yes. Do you have it on 7? Yes. Do you have it on 9? Yes. Do you have it on 10? Yes. So that's fine. So we have everything fine. But then you can see that until I'm done clicking, while I'm clicking, I should be seeing it. But no matter what, I don't see it. So I should be clicking to know what I'm trying to do. So that's the next thing to figure out. So I'm going to commit this again. Whatever I make a change now, I'm going to make sure I commit the change so I can keep track of what I'm doing part time. So update arrow annotation with dynamic arrowhead. Right, and I'm going to commit that. I'm not pushing it, just committing it. So we know that that's the change that is made. So the next thing I'll be like, oh, nice. I have implemented this and it works. Next thing I want us to work on is that next thing I want to update is this. When I draw the annotations, I notice that while drawing, I do not see the drawing until what's the word to use now? When I do this, until I'm done, let me say until I key up, but let me not make it technical, until I'm done with the drawing, then the annotation gets displayed. How can I make this display as I draw so I can know the shape, size, and how the drawing looks before I complete the drawing. It's just better for UX. So this is the question. I want you to answer this question. So it should point me to where it is, even if it doesn't fix it, like we've been doing for like 3 steps now. I'll go ahead and fix it myself. Then we'll do that. So once we are done with all of those successfully, I'm now going to go into the dynamic toolbars. The reason why we need dynamic toolbars is because, like I said, the text you have a different toolbar than the freehand and the ellipses and rectangles and all. I already have a config that should undo that here, as you can see. The key and the keystroke, the keys, the stroke, the fill stroke, and the fill. As we already have that done properly, the fill works for this. So that's the thing. So it's an excellent idea. Real-time visual feedback is crucial for good UX. This is a common feature in professional drawing tools like this and this. The challenge currently you only see the final annotation because tools only render during the final on-up event, which is what I was trying to explain. There's no preview during drawing because single canvas, we are drawing directly on the main canvas, no temp layer, separate drawing, no separate drawing surface for preview, no real-time feedback. You just can see what they are drawing to the completion. I can implement this with 3 different approaches. Double canvas layer recommended, main canvas, preview canvas. But the problem with this is that it becomes a problem quickly because it can be messy to handle 2 canvas at the same time. Or option 2, single canvas with preview mode, preview during drawing, show current tool shape as you draw, final mouse up, commit the annotation, benefit simple implementation of layer management. This one, the transparent overlay for current drawing, true real-time preview, familiar UX pattern. So what we can do is we can try any of this approach and discard it if you don't like it. That's the thing. So the recommended implementation is to, option 3 is enhanced tool rendering. Tools render themselves, each tool draw its current state. No previous canvas needed. To manage their own preview, most efficient, least complex. So it says he recommend option 2 because best UX, users see exactly what they are drawing, no canvas layer complexity, single rendering context, matches behavior users expect from other tools. So this is exactly what we expected to do, but I'm not sure. I've not decided which I want. So it's your implementation plan, 2 preview system, add preview state to each tool, current point, temporary annotation. I don't want to use a preview system. I feel like that's not what I need. Render preview annotation for Steve drawing, render all completed annotations, modify arrow tool to maintain preview state, update other tools similarly if needed. I don't think this is what I want. Single canvas with preview mode. I want a single canvas. I'm trying not to use a double canvas because it can be a problem. But this one that says to render themselves, each tool draws its current state and tools manage their own preview. This is most efficient, least complex. I would prefer option 3, but I wanted to go with option 2. Tell me more about option 2. Tell me more about the differences between option 2 and option 3 with real life examples. So it's going to explain this because I need to choose. I want to choose. I want to be the one to choose, not just give me what I want. I have a requirement and I want to stick to it. So it says, great question. Let me explain the key differences. Option 2, single canvas is this. Tools maintain their own temporary state. Convert preview to permanent annotation. Preview completed selection and do's. Then draw a rectangle. You see the rectangle outline while drawing. Release the mouse, become solid and permanent. Start new rectangle, previous rectangle stays. Oh yeah, this is exactly what we want. Single architecture, no canvas layer management, natural UX. I really don't want to use a double canvas. Working with double canvas can be hellish because you have to manage the state of both of them at the same time, which working with canvas on its own is a problem. So I really don't want that. The cons, you have limited preview, only shows current tool, not complex composition, which is perfect. Each tool needs preview logic. State management, tools need to track during state. Okay, so how it works in this thing is for the option 3 is tools render their current state directly, tools update themselves during drawing, all annotations rendered together. I don't understand this still. It's a reward example, Adobe Illustrator. Reward example here, it didn't provide any reward example. Okay, Microsoft Paint. So draw a rectangle, you see the rectangle outline while drawing. Release the mouse, see the rectangle, very familiar, intuitive. What you see is what you get. For the Illustrator example, it says draw a rectangle. Rectangle appears and updates continuously. Add another rectangle, both render some professional object oriented. I don't think I want this. The reason is because it says draw rectangle. I'm still really confused. I don't know which one is best. It feels like it's the same thing to me. I don't know if that is it. So it's a key decision factors. It says cons of this. The pros of this is easy to add complex tool behaviors, most no preview overhead, consistent with IN tools, composable, tools can interact with each other, easy to add this, more complex. Each tool needs full rendering logic, higher learning curve, more complex tool architecture, trying to make it simple. So immediate visual feedback option 2, professional tool behavior option 3, simple predictable interaction option 2, advanced features option 3, development priorities, rapid implementation option 2, clean architecture option 2, feature extensibility. I really don't want to extend performance constraints, lighter weight, better performance, can handle complexity for 3. So yeah, okay. So I'm sticking with option 2 though. It says simple predictable with this. As I'm drawing, what I just want to see is as I'm drawing it, I want to yes, let's proceed with option 2. So the beautiful thing is already gave me the how to implement option 2, right? As you can see, it says the first thing we need is we need to add into an annotation engine, which is the annotation engine we have here. We had to create an engine for it because we didn't see a tool or a library that works best for our use case. So we needed to create our own engine. So we can convert this engine to a library, put it out there, open source it. It works perfectly well. We don't really need to bother. But that's something we can do eventually. So in this case, we have the annotation engine. We have private. We can add these variables, private drawing, this and this, then add this to it. Render annotations when it is drawing, right? Which I think is perfect. And then in the arrow tool or in any of the tool we want to use, in case for the rectangle tool, for instance, on the pointer move, we don't just add the n.p. We push the point as it's drawing it. So, but in this case, I'm not going to implement it. I'll just tell it that because it needs to implement for multiple files. I'll say yes, let's proceed with option 2. So it's going to proceed with option 2, implement and change all the files that needs to be changed. So I'm just going to go here and look for what we need to fix next. So currently we have the size of the annotation, which is perfect. That's what we want. The second thing, we want the rectangle to do exactly what we intend. We've already, you can see the edge stuff that we can use to manipulate this. We don't have the undo functions yet, so it doesn't work. So if I click on this arrow here, I should be able to increase it, but for some reason I can't do that yet. Oh yeah, I can now. So I think you need to be at a particular position for it to work. But if you get the idea, this works for now. So it says I need to act more than blah blah blah, add previous state to this. So currently we don't have anything to lose by doing this. If it doesn't do it, I can go ahead and fix it myself. It's just going to take more time. But now that we know what to do, we can just go ahead and implement it, which is cool. And yeah, so that's what we need to do. So let's wait and see what it's going to complete. So it's going to try to implement the previous state management. The first thing we see here is that it's modifying something. But we've not seen what it's modifying. Okay, so like I said, we add the two variables in the annotation engine and add one more thing. It's going to add something to the draw function as well, the draw method, so that as you are drawing, you can see the state being updated and you can see this. So it's going to, so it's adding to 3 functions, actually 3 methods. It's adding the start drawing, end drawing, and get current to. Why did you have to modify that? It was working fine before. And then it also modify the its drawing method, and that is understandable. That is expected. And okay, so now we have those 3 things. So now it's going to go to the tools. It's going to go to all the tools. It's going to go to the basically all the tools though. It needs to go to all the tools. All of these things on the tools. The arrow tool, rectangle, text tool. And you can see the way I splitted everything here. all functions. So that means you can give them different implementations. So this is why it looks this way and it's cool. And this is one of the reasons why we can convert a library, a standalone library that works. That I can even import for this project, or you can use it for any of your projects. If I have enough time, I can get this done. So if you really want to see this happen, then consider subscribing to this particular channel, and then I'll get that done. If I have if I see that yes, you guys have subscribed, then I'm going to work on it and then push it. I'm going to take extra time to make it work. That's what I'm going to do. So while this is working and thinking, what we're going to do next is wait a bit. But I've already seen the next thing I want to work on. The next thing I want to work on is when I click on this, right? And I want to see the tools like this. What I want to do next is not just working on this now. I want this to work. Okay, currently we can't use it because it's still updating stuff. But remember the action buttons like the undo and the redo stuff. We'll be handled all of those things later. Let's not go there yet. So what I'm going to do is I'll tell it to use the dynamic tooling system that we have before we add other things. Or before that, first thing first, let's work on the text. The text doesn't display as it's supposed to display, and that's the problem. But we understand why that is. So before we work on the text, that's the text tool itself, we are going to tell it to use the dynamic systems, especially the schema. The reason is because if you have it dynamic enough like that, then we can add more functionalities. We can add more stuff, like changing the font family for the text can be done. Even though that's not the priority for now, but then we want to leave room for extensibility. We want it to be able to work in such a way that we can modify these things later on when we need them. Do you understand? So that's the essence of doing that. Oh no, this, what happened to my code? What did you do to it? Remove the draw. Okay, so yeah, that's the fix. After spoiling my code, it doesn't even know how to fix it. So if I don't jump into fixing like that, it will keep messing up every other thing, as you saw before. All right, so I think it might be messed up now. The reason, because of the fact that I added that to it and it doesn't know how to proceed, that might be the problem. Now it's messed up, it doesn't know how to continue. Yeah, it doesn't know how to process the request. Or the response, rather. So the response it got initially, because it's a messy response, right? It doesn't know how to process it. So let's wait if it can recover here. If it doesn't recover, I'm going to restore to this checkpoint and then get it to do the same thing it did again. All right, it was able to recover. Let's see. So it's currently having issues with this, which is expected. So this is one of the things you should always build into your system. See, error recovery is one of those things that people tend to overestimate. Errors will always happen. You can't beat it. But the ability to recover from errors is like your greatest asset. Is what differentiates a good product from a great product. Or let me say, it's what differentiates a bad product from a good product. Your product may be polished and all. If it breaks once and you can't recover, everybody loses trust in your product. The moment your product can recover from any error, or make that recovery so smooth that you feel like, oh wow, this is impressive, that you have superpowers, or that the app understands you, then that's it. If your app do not understand you as a person, even though you know that it's not your app is not transient, you still want to feel like, oh, you should be able to understand what I need. Everybody demands that from everybody, even if it's your mobile phone. You want your mobile phone to understand you. And that's why when you click something and it takes time to respond, you're angry. That's the idea. You want it to feel like you should understand what you are thinking. It doesn't work that way. Computers don't work that way. But you should be able to model your app or your product close to that. So you give your users the impression that we understand how you feel. We can read your mind, even though you can clearly not read their mind. Give them that impression. So always build your mind, your app with that in mind. That's why we tend to say things like, "Oh, everybody's mentioning Rust because you can literally not build a bad product." But that's not the issue at the end of the day because any day is going to crash, just like Cloudflare issue happened late last year, and it took down almost the entire internet because of one simple issue. Of course, it was built in Rust. You had all the wrap and all the expect and all the option, but one mistake can cost you that kind of thing. There was no proper error recovery, even though you're using Rust. Why? Because we believe you should handle it for us. So at the end of the day, that's not the solution. The solution is how you build your product. Handle errors, even if you feel there won't be errors, and handle it gracefully. Even if your API will not be connected, handle it in such a way that the user will feel like, okay, maybe it's their fault. Even if it's not their fault, you need to be able to do that expressly. So this is it. This is not going to be able to work at this time to fix this. So I'm going to tell you to create a new task with context from the current task. And that's what I'm going to send. So I'm going to cancel this. It's not going to pick it. I've had too many encounters with the AI to know that it's not going to do that. That's why most times I don't like jumping into help it. It won't have been able to fix this thing it did here at all. It won't. And the best thing is to fix it, but then if you fix it, it fails. So that's the problem. Okay, so you see, now that I try fixing it, now it's trying to add it back. It knows what it's supposed to do again. I hope it's not duplicating this thing because I feel like it's writing duplicates now. Oh, okay, it's not. Yeah, it's definitely writing duplicates, as you can see. AI, AI. That's changed a lot of things for me. You can see I have to draw functions now. It's struggling. Like I said, it's struggling so badly to make the fix. Struggling so badly. You can see this is missing. Like this is clearly wrong. And it wrote it comfortably like it was correct. Like sad. Terrible. Just terrible. Wow. No, let me just fix this myself. I don't have time for this. First thing I'm going to do is paste that same thing I copied the other time. So we have our schema defined. Everything is fine. It's perfect. Let's test it out. I know it's not going to work as expected because it didn't get to complete. So if I draw this, you can see it doesn't even work at all anymore because things broke with the implementation, and then it struggled to fix it, struggled to finish the implementation. But it still came ahead and told me that yes, everything is working, and you can see nothing works. The rectangle too, nothing works. So clearly everything failed, but it's understandable. So what I'm going to do is go back to this, which is the single preview mode. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to restore this, but I'm going to just edit this and say create a I'm going to create a face like I always do. You guys know this is how I do it. I'm going to call it canvas preview. Let me call it a name that explains what it does. Single canvas with preview mode. Yeah. single canvas with preview dot md. No, not comma md, dot md. Okay, so I'm going to tell it to write into that file before it starts. Create a write the steps, the action, the implementation plan, and the implementation phases into single canvas with preview md. I want to be able to track the progress of this implementation and also have the LLMs track the progress as well. Proceed. So I'll tell it to proceed, restore the charts. It will check out all the check marks and all the implementation that was done beforehand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go here and restore the entire thing because I don't want it. Right. So we have that. So that was why I had to commit the other thing that time, as you could tell. So you can still see that it doesn't even understand what to do here because the context is already corrupt, I think. So he wants to create it. Doesn't even know how to do that for me now. But I want you to create it so that you can use another context before we ask the new question for what to do. So now that we are starting a new task with the context, you should actually know what to do because I'm not giving it enough. I'm not restricting it. I just told it to create a context with the understanding it has. So you can use that to prompt itself. So that way you should be able to give itself the actual prompt you want. And so you're going to read single canvas with preview. That was why I asked you to write this plan. So you can use this plan to judge what it's creating and then implement something that makes sense. So you should still give me the same, so let me say similar implementation as before, but now in a reasonable manner. So let's see what we have here. So this is one of the biggest problems with AI, actually. Think about it this way. AI has context, right? AI needs to work with context. But the fact that it needs to work with context is a limiting factor because it needs a lot of data as context, as information. It's not like the human brain that will just tell you that, okay, we need to do this and we can, by inference, go do our research, pick information by ourselves. The way we process information is not the way AI processes information. AI needs every little detail. That becomes a bottleneck because data stacks up pretty much for AIs. We can handle multiple data, and if we can handle multiple data, we know how to split our work into chunks and take care of it little by little. Well, AI is not that good. It can't really do stuff like that, which we know as a problem. So that's where we need to come in most times and say, okay, don't use this, now use this. And you can see now it's using better function names and it's even implementing in a better way than we saw previously, which is understandable. That's cool because now it has prompted itself with the right information. That's why it's more like a bottleneck. So let's just wait for a few minutes and see what it does and see if everything can work perfectly well. Why is it stuck? Okay, it's moving again. Now we can see the essence of me asking you to do it. Now it can actually affect all the pages at the same time. I'm still skeptical of this implementation because I don't think it's going to work 100% at once. But even if I can do 40%, I can come in and start modifying what's not necessary. If it's not going to take much time, if it's going to, I just discard it and work on the next important thing. We've already gone 4 days in this. We should be done by now. Literally, that was my plan for this. Okay, let's see. What next? Okay, so that was the freehand tool. We have to work on the text tool next, which is like the last one to work on. Yeah, so this is the text tool. So the point here now is to see what we can, or what we should have. Okay, so it's working. Let's see. I just hope it's not changing the core. We only need the components. Okay, yeah, it's changing the right file. The annotation engine components is what we want, not the core itself. So that's fine. Okay, it should be done now. I think this should be the last stuff. So it's building, it's fine. Let's go and check it out to see if it works perfectly well. You can see that we have our keyboard shortcut already, but it's just not working as we want it to. Why? Because undo is not properly implemented. Let me show you guys some things. If you look at the undo here, what happens undo? We have the history index and all of these things implemented, but it's not working, right? Like, let me show you what I mean. If I go here, now that it's done, I can refresh it and check. So if you check just to be sure, right? We have this. Let me increase this to 7. And I click on this. You see that it's working now, right? So it works. So I can use that to guide what I'm doing, have a reasonable stuff. And it works as before, nothing changes. Perfectly okay. The ellipses, yes, so I can draw perfect arrows now, or almost perfect circles. This works. I can change the color here to use the freehand and say things like, yeah, this works too. Perfect. Then the text is not done because we are still using prompts, which is awful. We should have a text box that we can manipulate to be able to create that. Now you can see the way it implemented it now that it prompted itself, and it did perfectly well. Like it did seriously well, more than you can imagine in this case. So what do we need to do next? This is perfect, right? We've been able to draw this perfectly well. The annotation, everything is working as expected. We have the sizing also. If I reduce the size or increase the size to 10, yellow color down here. able to now it's working here. If I test, if I click on this, it should work, but it doesn't work. Like I said, it's faulty. Let's test it again. If I redo here, it doesn't do anything. So we need to fix that part also ASAP. So if I click here, undo should work, but it doesn't work. Save doesn't really work as we want, but we can touch on that. We might not touch on it today, but let's fix the most important things. Saving is going to work. We are going to implement using IndexedDB to save to like our browser storage. The reason is simple. The reason is because we want it to have a place where we can store as large as possible. Working with images like this can grow substantially large and quickly. But we know that when we work with images, we don't just want to work with images at all. We want to have other things like the annotations to be add other extra stuff to it. And then saving it on local storage is not sustainable because if you clear your cache, for instance, it's gone. But IndexedDB will still retain it, even if you restart your system, close your browser, do all of those things. But remember, that's not our end goal because our end goal is this. We want to build it, have a sync engine for it so that it is accessible on your mobile phone as well. So that means if you open your mobile phone based on what we are building, you can click on it, create your annotations, go to your mobile device on the same, but this is an extension. So we need to have a mobile app for it. That when you click on the app, the moment you create an annotation, it automatically sends it and creates that sync between your extension and your mobile phone. So you can share with someone from your phone, share from your extension, have that sync automatically. So that's what we are trying to build, and we are getting there. So we're almost done with this. The colors work, right? We are sure the colors work. Let's implement the text. To implement the text, I'm very curious implementing dynamic stuff, toolbar we have here. And the reason for the dynamic toolbar is it's not really needed now. The reason why I say that is because the freehand tool works. The arrow, rectangle, ellipse needs this and the size, which is fine. You don't really need to change anything. But the text itself needs to have a different stuff. But for now, we want to keep it simple. We are not going to change anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the text, but the text should not be a prompt like this. Like when I click, right, you can see it creates a text, but it expects me the prompts to be what uses to update it. If I say update this to the canvas and I click, you can see these changes to update this to the canvas. You can't see it, but you can see it also. Let me see if I can expand it. I can't. I wish I can expand this, but I can't because of the way it is as text. So it's very limiting. Yeah, you can see it like this. So I've been successfully able to do this. Nope, still not doing that. Nope. Now you can see this. You can see me being able to update it or increase the size. Nope. So this is what we have. So if I create a red colored stuff too, it works for it. As you can see here. So you can see that it also works for it, right? And it works well. So that means the color and everything works. So for now, we are not going to undo the dynamic stuff. We are going to undo it in a very simple way. No dynamic anything, just working. So I'm going to leave the toolbar as it is. We have everything like this. So remember how we created all of this from scratch. There's no library for doing anything yet. No. The only library we are using is the library to create the extension, which makes it easy for us to create extensions. That's what we are using for now. We all know that, right? So we have this, which is what works too. But this creates it in a full page stuff. So this is the library that does that for us. And we've already discussed that in the first 3 parts of this series. So you can always be free to check that out also. It makes sense. So this is what we are not using that extension pop-up. We are using this floating button. It's also an extension, in case you don't know. This is also an extension. It's connected to that pop-up, but we are not connecting it yet. So now this is fine. We have annotated our pages as perfectly as possible. I can click this easily. So next thing I need to do is when we are done with this now, I need to comment this again. I need to commit this. I want to commit this because I don't want it to like misbehave. So I'm going to commit, but not the documentation yet. In fact, let's commit the documentation for this. Add it to VCS. So it's already automatically here and I can commit all of it at once. So the text to have something I do not want. Let's go for the text too. I don't like seeing the red text. If you've watched some of my videos, you know that I don't like seeing that red mark. Anyway, I like fixing it as soon as possible. I think it's missing something, right? you are missing the following properties. So I'm going to add the stuff it is missing, which is the font size and the font family. So I'm going to move this down here, if I'm not mistaken, and that should solve the problem. Okay, so that's it. The font size and font family, we are not bothering about that. The only thing we are bothered about is, like I said, we don't want to make it complex. We want to make it as simple as possible. So if I click on this, you should capture this web page. It's too slow sometimes, and I think and it brings you to figure out why it's taking that much time. It doesn't give a good user experience. We'll work on that as well. So if I click on this is the arrow. We can drag the arrow out of view. We don't want that there. Excuse me. So the rectangle works, or the green for this. All of this is fine. We don't need anything for the text or small, right? So this should also work for this size, but it's not working for the text size. So we need to modify the text. But before doing all of this, let's add the members for this also here. Implement the members, move down here. Okay, so I'm going to commit this here. Why is package.json here? I didn't change anything in package, did I? Browserify for what? What did I do with this? Why did he add this to it? What am I doing in Browserify here? Wow, that's strange. So it wasn't there before. I think he added it for import crypto from this. Crypto to random this. Okay, this may be a problem because we don't want that. I'm not using that. There's no need for that. That was a mistake. We don't need the Browserify at all. So I'm just going to add this. I don't know what it's for me, but that just does not make sense at all. That's weird. Let me remove it from package. I don't need the external library to handle this. A crazy thing, it has installed it already. It's extremely strange. All right, so I'm going to commit this. It's already changed. So I want to commit the 10 files to get it to do what it needs to do. You know what I'm going to do here to make it work. Crypto Browserify should be removed. Expected key, something is breaking. It's not even working as expected. So pnpm dev, let's see what the issue is. All right, so it's fine. So I'm going to run pnpm remove crypto browserify. Yeah, so because I don't want the right, it's not needed. I'm not using it for anything. There's no point keeping a package I'm not using. So totally gone. So that way I shouldn't have it here. So I have 9 files, perfectly okay. Let me just create a commit message with this. All right, so I'm still going to commit this. I'm not pushing it yet, just committing it. So I'll commit this once it is done. Analyzing code, committing code. Yeah, it's done. All right, so let's work on the next thing. The next thing we want to work on is this text, right? So text doesn't work for us. I'm going to just make the complaint and say, oh, nice. This works perfectly well. I want to update. I noticed something though. Now I'm prompting now to what's for the text. I noticed when I click the text, when I'm in text mode, it prompts and I click the canvas to write text to the canvas. It displays a prompt instead of allowing, which is not the best for user experience. It should allow me. Okay, okay, no, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to tell you that it's not good for user experience. Give me what do you think is the best way? Because the reason why I'm asking it for the best way is which of the best way can they implement? I don't want to suggest something that it cannot do. I'm at liberty to modify it when it does it and say, okay, I don't want this simple thing. Like I said, all of the things you see here was created in terms of design, in terms of the UI, was what I created. All of this in terms of the UI, this here, this, the text, the colors, the accents, everything. I had to install Radix and do everything the way I wanted it. We can always still do that, but let it just give us a net start. So in this case, it displays a problem is not best for user experience. How can you make this better? Can you implement this? So I'm going to ask this question. Obviously, you can implement it. So I'm just going to ask, how can they make it better? So it's going to go ahead and look for what way it can make it better, and then return with responses and say, oh, yeah, I can do this. Let's do it this way. And then it's going to make it work. So the plan is this. I understand the UX issue with the current text to implementation. Using prompts is Dino ID for modern annotation to is disruptive and provide for user experience. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. So it's going to analyze, like I said, let me analyze the current implementation and design a better solution. Looking at the current implementation, it uses prompt which blocks the entire browser interface, provides this, we understand all of that. Does not provide multi-line text, which is very, very important. You want multi-line text because the user may have something in their head. For instance, when I'm browsing, let me show you an example. Let's say I go to Cerebras, and the first thing I say, oh wow, I love this, and I want to share this with someone. Say I want to share this entire site with someone, right? Currently, I can't do that. If I refresh the page, right, at this point, and that yes, we have two of our extension um script injected. The first two extension script I see injected is this CSUI inline. This is something I injected to this page. So if you're just joining here, I explained this at the beginning that if you go to inline, this is the file that I injected. You can see the name CSUI inline. If I make it inline injected and I refresh the page and I go back here, you literally see that once this refreshes, you will see CSUI injected. I'm the one injecting it. You can see how I'm controlling the navigation of that actual Cerebras site. This is my site. You can see Cerebras or AI is live happening on that particular thing. So this is how we can do it. So currently there are two things injected on the site. This is injected, inject this thing, me something. And also let me just entire page of image. There's a lot of high quality designs. So it's going to take a bit of time to capture the site. Exactly, it's normal everywhere. Um, because it's writing it's kind of like rewriting the site. Like there are a lot of images, a lot of stuff. So it's going to take time to write the site, a lot of gradients and graphics, very high quality graphics. That's understandable. So this will take time, but it's going to render it. So let's see if it hasn't crashed yet. I just hope not. Something is wrong. It shouldn't take this long. Let me go back to this easy one and try this. So context invalidated. Let's refresh this page. Now in this page, there are two injections also happening. This one that you see by the right side. This is not when this is google.com. If you click on Google on your browser, you shouldn't see this. You can see google.com. But I have these two injected. So this is one of the things I injected. This is the other one. I think I broke something here. Okay, it's working. Okay. So that means Cerebras is just taking a bit more time. Oh yeah. So like I said, he needed to process all of the images and stuff, and he couldn't even process all of them. You can see the issue. So this is one of the issues we still need to like work on and fix. You can see it's displaying the injected inline here. Well, we don't want that. So I'm going to remove the injected inline here. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to click on this, close this, and then refresh the page and click on this. So it's taking time a bit, but yeah, that is expected. These are very high quality. Even the image, the website takes time to load. So understandably so when you try to write. I know this is not good for user experience. Like it's terrible. So what we need to do is to have a way to actually capture a part of the page, not the entire page. image actually, but I can actually write to this. Still the same thing. I can add my rectangle to it. And if there's something you notice that these texts are now reduced because they work in line with the size of the page. In case you did not notice that initially. If my page is large, like this page, you can see these texts are bigger, the buttons are bigger, the way they show, because they actually work with the size of your page. So if you're using a bigger font size, this is a smaller font, small it looks, then this will accommodate and work with that size. If you're using a bigger size image like this, if I like scale up my web page, it's going to also scale up to accommodate that. It's a very subtle, it's one of those things that makes it beautiful to use. So you can see this still works, right? This still works fine. So this still works fine too. This still works very well. So you can see how we are injecting this. So if you have this extension, you can literally do this on your own site too. This is one of the things you can do. But this is not for fun. It's actually it has a very good use case. So I'm going to close this right now that we know this works everywhere. So the text, like I was trying to show you, is when we click on the text, we want to have that working text, especially. Okay, I'm not going to click that again. It took time. So that's what I was trying to explain something. So yeah, exactly. So it doesn't support multi-line text or rich formatting. I just deviated a bit there. So the proposed solution is to implement the inline text editor. Implementing an inline text editing experience similar to model tools like Figma, Sketch, or even Google Docs, which is exactly useful in this case. That's one. So we need the phase one, canvas overlay text input, click to position, inline input field, live preview, exactly, which is what we've implemented already for the other tools. So for the text also, we want to see the text as you are writing it. It should be like writing to the inline, the component that we are about to create. So finish on enter or click away. Text is finalized when the user presses enter or clicks outside of that tool, which is exactly what you should do. So that's phase one. So we have phase two called enhanced text editing, multi-line rich text properties. Okay, well, we can create rich text properties. There are many ways we can create that. There's a library called LiveBlocks that we can use. LiveBlocks is a website I came across, a web app I came across some times ago that you can use. You can see the same CSU line here, right? You can see the same CS inline property here too. So let me show you what line blocks can do. Line blocks can actually allow you create something like this. Where you can write text and do something like this. You cannot just create something like that. You can create rich text by creating different heading size, different colors, quotes, a wise quote, right? I created this in this, I use this particular library in one stuff I built. So I built this part. Guys, is great more things. Colors, text with images, embedding text. Really add anything to it, right? You can add code blocks, you can add tables, we add extensible text. Name, school, name, something. And I can add stuff here too, stuff here. So, and you can see it's just easy to use. And like I was trying to show you, so I created this stuff, this website I created for myself to be able to use. And this website, this is nice. I love this. So this this website is not else like this. So if you look at the note editor here, the note editor here is similar to this guy. It's loading. It should be loaded by now. Why is it being like this? So this is the text editor. The text editor is a minimum version of that. As you can see, this website is not. This is a website. It's not my operating system right now. Like there are two different windows. You can't really tell the difference if you see it most times, but you can see the difference right now. All right, you can see the difference between this and this one. You can see the difference. It looks similar, yeah, but they are totally different things. This is like a minimal version of macOS. This is my website. This is my own web app, and this is the actual macOS window. This is how it looks like. So it's different. So what I'm just saying is that you have this. You also have the note editor, which you can see here. I embedded into this website, and it works similar to this. So if I want to add that to this website, so all I need to do is maximize it like this. and click on the table. You can see I can literally do the same thing I just did. Of course, it doesn't work because you need to like program everything to work, but it still works normal. As you can see, if I click on this table, I can edit it and add stuff like this. As you can see here, and it still works too. And I can also drag and drop like I have. I can minimize it. I can add more columns or more rows. If I click on it, it works. I don't know if that makes sense. So this is another thing. So I'm just showing you how you can embed it. And also, if you want to notice it, you can see that this also still works. The injection here, I can minimize this too and pick it up from here. So these are things we've built. The injection I have here too, and what I mean, this page now, see, annotate this page by adding the rectangle here, or by adding that here. Certain things like I built this one late last year. It works for me. For I just like the way it looks. I like the way it is. This is not my web page. This is an actual web page, as you can see here. Right? You can open stuff. You can drag this. You can drag this. You can minimize this. That's its own menu. For instance, the editor here has its own menu. Save this and it's saved. If I modify again, it doesn't modify. So this is deviating, but I'm just trying to show you what you can do with block notes in this case, right? So you can use this, but we don't want to make it complex for now. Let's just do something simple for now. Then we can always extend it. Now, what I'll show you now is Radix asks something called is opened first. It is not open. So Radix or the pop-up UI. There's a pop-up UI in Radix that does similar things for you. That when you click it, it gives you a pop-up that you can style, and it's going to stay consistent with the design system we've started with. So there's something called popover. No, not the popover. Yeah, if I click this, you can see I can write something like this. So we want to use the popover for the text, which I feel makes sense. So I'm going to just tell it to use Radix popover. Even if it doesn't use it, let it do its thing first. I'm going to implement the popover for it to make it work. So let's look at the last thing to do before we wrap up for today. I'm going to make this like the last thing for today. The next thing is going to be technical implementation plan, components needed, text input, and access to text editing, event handling, create the text input, UI, UX improvement, which is visual feedback, auto sizing, proper styling, accessibility, all of this. Now, the thing is, we can't finish this today because it's going to take time. It's already 6 p.m. and I want to like wrap up here today. So by the next part of this episode, which is going to be like by tomorrow. So if you're not subscribed, like I always say, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification button so you can be aware of cool videos like this. I build stuff like this all the time. I have a video where I showed you all of these things I've built. I built this website I showed you guys just now. How are you here? Where I showed you guys this. Where's the site again? This one. This is my website. Like this is something I built for myself. You can see it opening different windows at the same time. And I can move them. And you have like a manager for it. These are so if you want to see me build cool things like this, so always just get subscribed so you see it. I build stuff like this all the time. So and it's cool. I know it's cool. All right, so that is it. I have one more window open. I can see the details and I can click it and close it. Yeah, and that's it. It should be gone. So that is that. If you want to check out this website, it's called osui.versel.app. Just I'll drop it in the comment section so you can check it out. It's cool. Just something I built. I've not really done it for what I want to, but it's just a concept that makes sense to me. And so now we have this done to this point. The text we can't complete today, but we are going to start it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it but not finish it because we can't. It's going to take a bit more time. So the benefit is we have modern UX, the non-blocking, better visuals and stuff. So also, should I prioritize basic inline input, replace the prompt quickly, or fully feature text editor, more comprehensive but longer implementation, both phases together? So the thing is, I'm not sure if you can use live blocks. I would have preferred if you can use the live blocks I explained and I showed you guys. To implement live blocks is quite easy to do. You have all of this. You can style the width and the height. So it's easy for users to just click, see a live block pop up, write their stuff, and it just stays there. But the disadvantage of that also is that you cannot embed it like a text that you click that gives the pop-up like what I showed you here. So I can convert it to a text and pop up like this and I write multi-line stuff. It's quite easy to do this. And that's what we want the user to be able to do. So we want it to be that you can write your text. Now, this is subjective. I can do it in such a way that I have my text written this way. Let me use like a color that is visible, like white. So I say this is a sample long text, and I do something like this. So if I click this now, I know that. Let me see if I can zoom it again. It's quite difficult zooming this right now because it's still small. This is why I want to work on it. But you can see the long text. Let me zoom in so you can see. So this is the sample text I created. Let me see if I can do that. Finally. So you allow me to scale it a bit, right? So this is sample text I created. And looking at this sample text now, you can see that so this is how it is. I can't create a long text. I can't edit it. I can't do anything. In this case, we want it to be that because I'm creating an annotation library, what I want you to do is clicking this annotation should, what should you do automatically? You should just break it into new line or give me all the text the way I want it just on the page. I don't want to be able to click something to see it again. Reason is because we are creating a sync engine that when you click it on your mobile device, you want to see the same thing. So you want to literally see the text the way you've written it on the page. So I don't know how that's going to go yet. I just top of my head, I feel like that would be a better way to do it. So you can see the text like a note, styled like a card that you can see. You can modify it. You can still modify it rather if you have be able to modify it. So that's why creating the text, I don't know how it's going to happen yet. But it should still be modifiable. The same way you can drag it, you should be able to click it, modify it, which means it will take a lot more time than this. So like I said, we can't complete that today. But if you want to see that completed, make sure to join by tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be the part 5 of the series. Part 5 is going to be quite interesting because part 5, we are going to complete the text, we are going to complete the actions. That's the undo functionality, the redo functionality, the save functionality, and then we are going to begin the sync engine. The sync engine based on the fact that we need to create an app for it, first of all. But before we create the app, we need to create a sync. We need to create two things. In fact, let me write our plan so you guys can understand what we need to do. So this is the next phase of what we are trying to do. So the next phase is, let me call it next phases. So first thing we need to do is what? Sync engine. So complete the text annotation feature. So complete the text annotation feature is the first thing. Then the second thing is going to be what? Complete the actions features. The save, the undo, redo, save. Then the next thing we're going to do is, because we can't complete all of these two, like, okay, we can complete these two in the same day. So the next thing after this is going to be the sync. Nope. And recovery, local DB. Not really error recovery though, but it's just more efficient and sustainable. Sustainable scalable DB with index DB using Dexy. So we're going to be using Dexy. Dexy is a library. I think I showed it here in part 3 of the series, part 2 or part 3 of the series. So the next thing we are going to do after this is implement the sync engine. Now the sync engine is just going to be a database out provision that is going to be syncing between, not the local DB now. We are going to create a sync engine between the extension and the mobile app. So that means we need to create a mobile app. Then the next thing, which is part 5, or let me say the last thing we are going to create in this series, is going to be build the mobile app. Now, this is something we can build in 2 hours, less than 2 hours. All we need to do is have a template that we can use. I'm going to show you how I do that. It's going to be simple because the mobile app is just going to be, okay, we can't do this in 2 hours. There are many reasons for that now I think about it. We need to create the mobile app, yes, but to make it sync with this, we might need to take more time. So we have three more part of the series. It's a 7 part series. Today is part 4. We have part 5, part 6, part 7. We have build the mobile app. Let me complete this so we can split it into different days. So we have the part 5, which is build the mobile app using Expo and React Native, and I don't know. I'm going to use a styling library that makes sense. So probably I'm going to use the Hero UI. I don't know. I've not decided yet, but I'm going to use a cool one that works. Either I use Hero UI or I use something like React Native Reusables. I don't know. Like you guys will be the one to like suggest some of them for when we get to that point. So the last thing is going to be now sync the extensions uh, annotations with the mobile app last thing. But before we do this, while we are doing this 5 and the extension for the Chrome, to add that here. Then 6 is going to be rebuild this and rebuild this. Now this may seem like a lot, but trust me, the reason why we can do that is because indeed this is part 3 of the series, right? We're already in part 3 of the series. So what we can do is we can take part 1, 2, we can take it in the, and let's say the 2. So we can take this tomorrow, which is part 5, completely. We can complete this too. This is going to be the one that gives us more difficult time. I'm going to research the best way to do this today so that when I come tomorrow, I just the ones you guys have. But if you have any suggestion, you can always drop it in the comment box and I'll try my best to see it also. I'll try my best to like work with what you suggest, and then we compare on the call, we contrast, then we make decision as quick as possible, implement that. Then the second feature here, which is the actions, the undo, save, and redo feature, is going to be the one that takes a lot more time. But in that, after that, we can implement the efficient, sustainable DB stuff. We can also do this tomorrow if you have enough time. If you complete this feature, this takes us like 20 minutes. This takes us like 40 minutes. That hour, we can use the other hour to implement this. Sync our storage, which we will implement with the save to Dexy. It should be very simple to do because Dexy is something that is flexible to work with and easy to debug. So that's fine. So if you can complete this 3 tomorrow, then we have 2 more days for this series. Then the 2 more days in part 6, we can create our sync engine automatically and start packaging this for the store, because if you can successfully create all of this in part 5, then we can do this for part 6. So if you're interested in this, like I said, turn on your notifications. So that means you need to subscribe, turn on the notifications to get notified for this app and for other cool stuffs I build. Like there are a lot of them. Probably create a website where you can see all the cool stuffs I build and access all of them because they are mostly free. You can always them. They are open as well. Makes sense. So for the store, then that will be this. And the moment we start packaging that, as long as we can create the sync engine, we automatically start with the mobile app. So if you can complete that on the 6th, and the 7 we just focus on this, wrap up, do a bit of polishing, and I'll explain how you can put this on the App Store as well. It's not as fast as taking it to the Chrome store, so it will probably take a long time, but it's something that is possible. But if there's anything you want to see in between this, just let me know. But this is our plan for the next 3 episodes of the series, because this is going to be a series that ends on Saturday, on Sunday, so it's part 7 on Saturday actually. So yeah, this is it. So yes, thank you so much for watching. Today, this will be the end of it. This is where we're going to proceed from tomorrow. We are going to implement the text, and the text is going to take a lot of thinking because we don't want to like have back and forth. We want to implement it once and get it to work. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. If you have any requests, please do the same. But if you have any other thing that doesn't work for now, or that you feel like you need questions on, also feel free to drop it in the comment section. I'll try as much as possible to answer it. So like I said, this is our plan for the next 3 episodes of this series. Consider subscribing, like the video. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Bye for now.